This, Anna, brings me to something I was talking about this weekend with about you. I was saying that you have recognized and addressed the situation that we aren't actually sovereign unless we're financially sovereign. No one is even bold enough to have this conversation that you've started. Okay. And on top of which, you've committed so much time to putting this together and working on building a solution. And so you and I were chatting yesterday or the other day where we were saying, I was saying that, do I have this right or not? Because now, while working with the farmers, then I'm facing a lot of people that are coming out of the boots on the ground, Anna, that are saying that, okay, but I don't want to do Anna's paperwork. I don't, first of all, think this is just Anna's paperwork. I think this is what Anna has been sharing with us because she's figured out what has to be done under the law. And you've said many times, as it is bound, it must be unbound. And the way I've been explaining it, Anna, and you can correct me about this, but I feel like what you're saying is, there's knots in this thread and we have to take the knots out, and people don't want to take the knots out. They just want to buy a new spool of thread. And so it's frustrating, but as we unbind and we take each knot out, then this is the knot of the Roman Empire, right? We're being held and we've been knotted up in by the Roman Empire.
Well, I give them a more, basic scenario. The Just a second here.
Sure.
Um, I tell them to pretend that they're on a sea voyage, that they've taken a cruise, okay? And when they wake up in the morning, their ship has been attacked by pirates, and the next day they are sold to Algerian traders who sell them to the French Foreign Legion. Okay? So they've been trafficked. They've literally been trafficked. And they're now in this foreign country working for this foreign employer. And their big question is, how do I get back home? Right? So you have to allow for your situation. You have been trafficked. You have landed in North Africa and you are now under the thumb and forefinger of the French Foreign Legion. There's a practical situation that you have to deal with. You can't just ignore that you're in North Africa. You can't just ignore that you are under the thumb of the French Foreign Legion. And somehow you have to thread your way home. Okay, so you've got a series of issues that are circumstantial, they're not your fault, but here you are. And in the same way, you have been trafficked off of the land and soil of your country, and you are now in the international jurisdiction of the sea and the air. And when you first wake up, it's just exactly analogous to waking up in North Africa in the French Foreign Legion. You are in the jurisdiction of the Holy Roman Empire and in the jurisdiction of the air. When you first wake up, every single one of you has been trafficked not once, twice. And you wake up in this completely foreign jurisdiction and you don't know what it is. You don't know where you are. You don't know how it works. And yet you know it isn't where you should be. Okay. It's becoming very clear that, for example, you're considered guilty, not innocent, when you go before a court. It's obviously that you're not given your rights. All of the circumstance of being in this foreign jurisdiction becomes apparent to you upon experience. All
Sure.
right, but you still have to figure out what jurisdiction you're in. Well, you're in the air jurisdiction and you're under the Holy Roman Empire. Well, so you have to take a step back from that. But what do you have to do? You're in North Africa. Not only do you have to escape the French Foreign Legion, you got to get a ride back home, right? So what do? You go to the seashore, you go to a port. You have to get back into the international jurisdiction of the sea before you can get to the international jurisdiction of the land and get back home again, right? So here you are. You have to go back from the air to the sea to the land because you were originally trafficked from the land to the sea to the air. You have
Hmm.
to reverse
What do
the
you
step.
say to the what do you say to the person that's like, but I'm sovereign under God and I don't want to take the title of state national?
They already have a title, whether they like it or not. They were registered and trafficked into a title, and it's a foreign title.
Okay.
So, if you want to be sovereign under God, and there are a lot of crazy people out there that think that we're not all sovereign under God, but we are all sovereign under God. It's not God who's causing the problem, it's mankind.
This is what I'm saying. So I say, okay, I guess if you want to be sovereign under God and go like live off grid somewhere, that's fine. But what if I want to stay in the midst of all the other people and I don't want to be
My
abused that
point
way?
is, it has nothing to do with God. God's not fucked up. God isn't. God doesn't have any problems with his ego. God knows who he is. God knows who you are. He gave you your free will. Okay.
So this is a
Okay. So
big point of contention that these people keep bringing up. And I'm like you, Anna. I go, but
it's
I
not
don't.
God's kingdom that's messed up. God's kingdom is perfect. Gravity
Right.
still works. Water still falls. Sun still shines.
They're
What
like
you
under
know?
ecclesiastic. They say under ecclesiastical law, I'm going to do this. I'm like, how are you going to make them receive that? How are you going to make
Well,
these people receive
ecclesiastical
it?
law is mankind's law. Ecclesiastical law is mankind's law.
This is what I need
It's
to hear from you. Just keep it coming right there.
all of this stuff was created by men. It was not created by God. Okay? God did not create courts. God did not create governments. God did not create state capitals. He did not create political parties. I mean, look, get this straight in your head. There is the earth and then there's the world. And these are two completely different things. The earth was created by God. The earth includes immutable natural laws like gravity and phenomenon like moonlight. Okay. That's God. That's God's world. Okay. And in God's world, you have your free will, you're given your health, your body, your family, all these things, all these wonderful gifts, the things that matter are given to you in the realm of God, in the realm of the earth. It's all the other things that were created by men in the dominion of the world, not the earth, the world, created by men. That's where we're all messed up. That's what causes the problems. And that includes the laws that men have set, the artificial codes and regulations and ordinances and mandates and all of the legalistic garbage that goes with it, all of the unnecessary rules, all of the picky coercive crap that we have to deal with because of men, not God. Doesn't have a thing to do with the world of God.
So when
This
they say dominion of the world, that's the point. That's also another point versus dominion under God.
Yes, well, the dominion of the world, if you want to make God your king, which is obviously the smart thing to do, okay, then you have settled the problem of Samuel and you've divided yourself from the world of the Canaanites. You've divided
Mm.
yourself from Canaanite idolatry, okay? This is the fundamental question. Do you make God your king or do you make a man your king? Okay, this has been on the table since Samuel the prophet. And it's been the central issue that has been going on ever since. And we're talking now, 5,000 years? So, you make this decision whether God is going to be your king or man is going to be your king. And be aware that this is a religious divide, because those who follow God and the earth are following a different kingdom and living in a different world, a different kingdom, than those who follow man and the kings that are arbitrarily chosen among men. Okay, so you have to make some choices here. But because you follow God does not mean that you don't also have to interact with the world of men, because the world of men are going to come and impose upon you whether you want their services or their opinions or not. And so you have to deal with both. You have the issue of, who are you going to trust and respect? Is it going to be Joe Biden or God? Well, let me
Well,
think.
they the point is
My,
they contracted on our behalf unconscionably when we were babies in the cradle. And this is what I was trying to explain. I said the problem is that they contracted us unconscionably as babes in the cradle. And we just need to remove ourselves from that because now we're not babes in the
right.
cradle. And we have to just say, we're alive. We're right here. We're not here. And once you do that, then you could choose to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, but you still have to have knowledge and you have to notice them and let them know that this, hey, wait a minute, I'm right here.
Well, yeah, and you have to notice the demarcation between the world of God and the world of men.
I
You
think
know,
this is the big problem. And I'm sorry I cut you off there, Lisa. I want to hear what you had to say, but this was just a situation that was going on this weekend and I wanted to clean it up. And I think that as many ways as we can hear it,
right? Well, you're still
My
going to have.
sorry,
I'm sorry, Lisa. Go
that's
ahead.
okay. My point was going to be that man created what 3.5 million laws that man has to go by, and God created 10.
hmm.
And we still
And in
can't
order
obey.
exactly, exactly, and so in order to get back to the very 10, we've got to make it known on what side of all of this we actually are, and we have to
Right.
declare that to be out of it, period, out of the contracts that obligate us to 3.5 million laws or 10 laws.
The
There you go.
declaration is the part. The declaration is the part, Lisa, and folks can't hear it. And they're so busy tying it up between me or you or Anna or anybody, and it's not about us.
No, no, it's not. And I think that Lisa's point is something that we all need to really come to grips with, because consider this: we were given 10 commandments, 10 basic rules to live by. Okay, we can't even do that. Jesus came and said, okay, well, the 10 commandments is too hard for you guys, so we're going to reduce it even more to just 2 commandments, just 2. We've given you 10. You can't handle 10, so we're going to step things back and give you baby steps, and now you just have 2 commandments. Do we do that? Can we even do 2?
Right.
No, they can't because they're so busy trying to call everybody else a liar, saying everybody else is bearing false witness because they're constantly blaming everybody else while they're doing exactly that. That's why.
My mother used to say that it was the pot calling the kettle black, is the old English saying, where you're blaming somebody else for something that you do yourself.
Glass houses
And
One
so,
one finger pointing out, three fingers pointing back,
pointing
right?
back. Mm-hmm.
right. So, if we would just give up the 80 million codes, statutes, and all of that, and just throw it in the waste bin and concentrate on those 2 laws, then the world would just automatically fall back into its rightful place. and
Mhm.
everybody would know what the law was, and there wouldn't be any question because it would be literally written on your heart. You would know if you had trespassed those two rules,
Yep.
right? It
Yeah.
would be so simple. And we could do away with courts. We could do away with magistrates. We could do away with jails,
Judgments.
judgments,
All of
fines.
this is money making nonsense. This is
Taxes.
worshiping the money. Yep.
It is. Well, it's idolatry.
Yes.
And what the Canaanites had human kings.
Mhm.
So they created the office of king, and then they chose somebody to fill the office. And what is that but an idol?
Yeah.
It is idolatry. Literally, it's idolatry. They create this office called king, then they put somebody in that arbitrary office,
And
and,
idolize them.
and they idolize them.
Yeah.
Look at poor Prince Charles, now King Charles III. Who in their right mind would want the life that that man has lived?
No.
You know,
No.
somebody may have wiped his butt for him every day of his life, but look at the life that he's had. Look at the concerns that have been dumped on him since the moment of his birth.
Mhm.
Imagine the public
Not
scrutiny.
free. He's
No,
not free.
no, he's absolutely he's
Enslaved.
he's enslaved to an office.
Mhm.
And he was always enslaved to an office and to other people's needs and expectations. He wasn't even allowed to marry whoever he wanted to marry.
And
And
look what that did.
yeah, right, exactly. And
Wow.
so, who wants to be king? Nobody in
Nobody.
their right mind would want to be king.
Nobody.
And so it's unfair to both the man who's being idolized, it's unfair to him, and it's unfair to the people because all they're doing is avoiding their own responsibility for their own lives by throwing it all off onto him.
Blame.
That's one
Blaming.
of, yeah. So one of the aspects of the great argument, what I call the great argument that's been raging for over 500 years here, is do people have the common sense and decency to rule themselves? Can they be taught self-governance so that other forms of governance are not necessary? And we don't know yet because aside from the American experience that went on for 80 years, those who were eager to rule and therefore profit from others got involved in messing with our experiment. So we don't really know if mankind is competent to self-govern or not.